Commander Jack Hawkins had never wanted to be a diplomat. He was a military man through and through, the kind who preferred shooting problems rather than talking to them. But here he was, adjusting the collar of his dress uniform for the 5th time, out to represent all of humanity to a bunch of aliens who'd been watching Earth like some cosmic reality show for decades. "Commander, your heart rate is elevated again. May I suggest a breathing exercise?" The pleasant female voice came from the glowing blue orb floating at his shoulder. "Vera, if you tell me to breathe one more time, I'm going to reprogram you into a toaster," Jack muttered, glaring at his AI companion. Vera, virtual entity for reconnaissance and assistance, dimmed slightly. "That would be a significant demotion, sir. Though I could still help you with breakfast." Jack snorted despite himself. The United Earth government had assigned Vera to him because apparently they didn't trust him not to start an interstellar war. Fair enough. The shuttle docked with a soft hiss, and Jack gazed out at the massive crystalline structure known as the Council Spire. It hung suspended in space like a giant icicle, refracting the light of nearby stars in rainbow patterns. Beautiful, if you were into that sort of thing. Jack was not. Reminder, the Galactic Council has been observing Earth since our first radio broadcasts, Vera chirped helpfully. They have chosen this moment for first contact because humanity has achieved faster than light travel. Yeah, barely, Jack said. The Perseus only made it to Alpha Centauri last month. Then suddenly these folks show up like they've been waiting by the phone. The airlock cycled open, revealing 2 tall, slender aliens with iridescent skin. Their faces were a bit too symmetrical to be human, with 3 pairs of eyes arranged vertically. "Commander Hawkins," said the taller one, its voice melodious and echoing slightly. "I am Guide Teth Lori. Welcome to the Council Spire. We are pleased that your species has finally developed sufficiently to join our discussions." Jack forced a smile. "Thank you for the warm welcome." "Indeed," said the second alien, looking Jack up and down like he was a particularly interesting zoo specimen. "We rarely see species achieve space travel while still possessing such primitive biologics. You still have bones. How quaint." Jack's smile froze. "We find them useful for holding up our meat." Vera flashed warningly. Of course, Teth Lori said, gesturing down the hallway. "The Council awaits. They are most curious about Earth. Some have been watching your development for generations. Your television programs are particularly entertaining, especially the one with the humans living together and being voted to leave a dwelling. Great. Aliens were reality TV junkies. That explained a lot." As they walked, Jack noticed the hallways were proportioned oddly too tall, too narrow, with control panels placed at heights that would require a stepladder for humans to reach. Nothing was designed with Earth physiology in mind. The message was clear: this wasn't a place built for humans. "You'll be expected to present Earth's case for recognition," Teth Lori explained. "The Council will evaluate your species' potential contribution to galactic society." "And if they don't like what they see?" Jack asked. The alien made a sound like wind chimes, apparently laughter. "Oh, don't worry. At worst, you'll be classified as a protected species. Your planet would become something of a nature preserve. Most developing worlds find this quite acceptable." Jack stopped walking. "A nature preserve?" "Indeed, your natural resources would be carefully managed, your population kept at sustainable levels, your more destructive tendencies gently curbed." The alien smiled, showing teeth that looked like polished opals. "It's quite an honor." Jack felt his diplomatic mask slipping. Vera bumped gently against his shoulder. "Commander," the AI whispered, "your blood pressure." "This is perfectly justified," Jack hissed back, then forced his features into neutrality. "Lead on, Guide Teth Lori. I can't wait to meet the Council." As they approached the massive doors to the Council chamber, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was being set up. These aliens hadn't contacted Earth out of respect or diplomatic necessity. They'd done it because humans had finally done something interesting enough to warrant attention. Like children being patted on the head for learning to tie their shoes. The Council chamber was a vast amphitheater, with raised platforms arranged in concentric circles. Each platform hosted representatives from different worlds, some humanoid, Others decidedly not. Jack spotted something that looked like a sentient gas cloud contained in a hovering glass sphere, and another being that appeared to be a collection of crystalline structures communicating through light patterns. "Presenting Commander Jack Hawkins of Earth," announced a disembodied voice that seemed to come from the chamber itself. All eyes and various other sensory organs turned toward Jack. He'd faced down enemy fire with less discomfort than he felt under their collective gaze. "Step forward, Commander," commanded a deep, resonant voice. At the center of the chamber, on the highest platform, sat a massive being with dark purple skin and 6 arms, each ending in delicate fingers laden with jeweled rings. A golden headdress crowned a face that might have been sculpted from stone, with eyes like molten gold. "I am Druxthel, President of the Galactic Council," the being announced. "We welcome Earth to our attention." "Thank you, President Druxthel," Jack replied, bowing slightly. "Earth is honored to finally join the galactic community." A ripple of what sounded like laughter spread through the chamber. Jack tensed. "Join?" "Oh, my dear Commander," said a new voice, high and wheezing. This came from a small, frog-like creature with enormous black eyes. "You misunderstand. You are here to be evaluated, not to join." "Allow me to introduce the primary council members," Druxthel said, Councillor Plix of the Nobulans. The frog-like being inclined its head. Councillor Mirok of the Vreen Collective. A tall, insectoid being clicked its mandibles in acknowledgement. Grand Vizier Olo of the Gaseous Dominion. The floating glass sphere with swirling gases pulsed with light. First Thinker Zrel of the Quantum Mind. A humanoid with blue skin and a cranium 3 times the size of a human's nodded slowly. Elder Grath of the Exolnar Empire. A reptilian being with armored skin and eyes like rubies hissed softly. And Harmonizer Luma of the Wavelength Fellowship. A being that seemed to be made entirely of undulating light patterns brightened momentarily. "Together," Druxthel continued, "we oversee all civilized space. We maintain peace, regulate technology transfer, and protect developing worlds from themselves." Jack noticed the emphasis on that last word. "Earth has developed quite well on its own. Thank you." "Has it?" Councillor Plix asked, blinking those huge eyes slowly. "Let us review, shall we? In the last century alone, you've had 2 global wars, narrowly avoided nuclear self-annihilation, degraded your climate, and depleted many of your natural resources. All while maintaining thousands of separate governments that frequently conflict with one another. We've made mistakes," Jack acknowledged, "but we've learned from them." "Have you?" Elder Grath hissed. "Your species still organizes itself through competition rather than cooperation. Primitive." First Thinker Zrel leaned forward, enormous head tilting curiously. "Your technological development is also puzzling. You've focused on physical transportation and weaponry, rather than consciousness expansion or dimensional manipulation. Almost inefficient. And your art," exclaimed Harmonizer Luma, light patterns flickering rapidly. "So fixated on individual experience rather than collective harmony. Although your heavy metal music has a certain primal appeal." Jack gritted his teeth as each council member took turns pointing out humanity's shortcomings. Vera hovered silently beside him, recording everything. "Perhaps most concerning," Druxthel said, raising a hand for silence, "is your species' tendency toward violence. Even your representative is a military commander rather than a diplomat or philosopher." "We've found that sometimes you need someone who can make hard decisions," Jack replied, keeping his voice level. "Indeed. Hard decisions." Druxthel's golden eyes narrowed. "Like whether to exterminate neighboring tribes for their resources? Or whether to subjugate other species if you were to encounter them?" "That's not who we are," Jack protested. "It's who you've been," Councillor Mirok clicked. "We've observed your historical documentaries. Very enlightening." Jack frowned. "Documentaries?" "Yes," Mirok continued. "Star Trek? Starship Troopers? Avatar? Most revealing of your attitudes toward other species." Jack closed his eyes briefly. "Those are fictional entertainment, not documentaries." "Ah," Druxthel said, smiling condescendingly. "Then we should disregard them?" Perhaps like we should disregard your species' actual history of colonization and conquest? The chamber filled with that rippling laughter again. In light of these concerns, Druxthel continued. The Council proposes that Earth be designated a Class 3 protected world. You will be allowed to continue your development under our guidance. We will establish an outpost in your solar system to monitor and assist your progress. Your more dangerous technological pursuits will be gently redirected toward more beneficial areas. Jack felt his face growing hot. And if we decline this generous offer? Druxthel's expression hardened. That would be most unwise, Commander. The alternatives are isolation or, should you prove troublesome, containment. Containment? A shield around your solar system, Counselor Plix explained cheerfully. Think of it as a playpen for species not yet ready for the wider universe. Jack's diplomatic mask finally slipped. Earth is not a child to be coddled or a pet to be trained. No? Druxthel leaned forward, golden eyes gleaming. Then prove it, Commander. Tell us what great contributions humanity would bring to the galactic community. What wonders have you achieved that we, with our millions of years of collective development, have not? Jack stood motionless for a long moment, acutely aware that the future of humanity hung on what he said next. Vera floated close to his ear. Commander, she whispered. Protocol Alpha 9. Jack smiled slowly. Protocol Alpha 9 was when backed into a corner, changed the game. You're right, President Druxthel, Jack said, his voice echoing in the suddenly quiet chamber. Humanity is young. We've made mistakes, lots of them. We've been brutal, short-sighted, and self-destructive. The council members exchanged glances, clearly not expecting this admission. But there's something you've missed in your observations, Jack continued. Something fundamental about humans that your reports and entertainment monitoring didn't capture. And what might that be? Druxthel asked, amusement evident in his tone. We thrive on being underestimated. Jack straightened his shoulders. Vera, initiate the right protocol. The AI flashed acknowledgement and projected a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed a woman in her late 50s with silver-streaked black hair and intent eyes behind smart glasses. This is Dr. Eleanor Wright, Jack said. Until 3 years ago, she was working on what most considered impossible, a unified field theory that would integrate gravity with the other fundamental forces. Many species go through this phase, first thinkers Rel said dismissively. You'll eventually realize, as we did, that the quantum realm and gravitational forces operate on principles too disparate to unify. Funny thing about humans, Jack said, ignoring the interruption. When you tell us something's impossible, some of us just take that as a challenge. The hologram expanded to show complex equations and diagrams. 2 years ago, Dr. Wright not only unified the forces theoretically but demonstrated practical applications. We call it the Wright field, a controlled manipulation of space-time that allows us to affect gravity as easily as we manipulate electromagnetism. Elder Grath hissed skeptically. If you possessed such technology, we would have detected it. Would you? The same way you detected that our entertainment wasn't documentary? Jack smiled thinly. Dr. Wright's first breakthrough was in containment. The field effects don't radiate. They're localized, invisible unless you know exactly what to look for. The hologram shifted to show laboratory footage of objects floating in apparent defiance of gravity, then to larger demonstrations, cargo ships hovering effortlessly, in massive construction projects with building materials drifting into place without cranes. This technology alone revolutionized our construction, transportation, and energy production, Jack continued. But that was just the beginning. He could see the council members shifting uncomfortably now. Vera's projection changed to show a massive underground facility. 6 months after Dr. Wright's breakthrough, we constructed the first planetary-scale Wright field generators. By February of last year, we had a global network. For what purpose? Druxthel demanded, no longer sounding amused. Jack met his golden eyes directly. Initially, climate restoration. We used the field to filter excess carbon from the atmosphere, restore ocean currents to their historical patterns, and stabilize our polar ice. Problems solved in months that your reports probably predicted would take us centuries. The chamber had grown very quiet, But then, Jack continued, Dr. Wright had another idea. If we could manipulate gravity on a planetary scale for environmental engineering, what else could we do? The hologram now showed a massive underground chamber where thousands of scientists and engineers worked around a central structure that pulsed with blue-white energy. 3 months ago, we successfully tested the first planetary propulsion system. Counselor Plix leapt to his feet. Impossible. The energy requirements alone would be impossible using conventional physics, Jack agreed. But right field technology creates energy by exploiting the difference between quantum states. The more mass involved, the more efficient it becomes. Earth itself is the power source. First thinker's Rel's enormous cranium was pulsing with visible blood vessels. You've discovered mass energy state conversion? That's a Class 1 restricted technology. Restricted by whom? Jack asked innocently. We weren't part of your council. We didn't know the rules. This cannot be true, Druxthale said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. No species at your development stage has ever been backed into a corner the way humanity has? Jack finished for him. We spent most of our history fighting for survival against nature, against each other. It made us adaptable, creative. And when we finally united, well, it turns out we're pretty good at solving impossible problems. The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices and translated exclamations. Jack stood calmly at the center, Vera hovering beside him. They're scared, the AI observed quietly. Good, Jack replied. Fear is the beginning of respect. It took President Druxthale nearly 10 minutes to restore order to the chamber. During that time, Jack watched the council members furiously consulting with advisors and each other, their earlier condescension replaced by agitation, and in some cases, that clear alarm. Commander Hawkins, Druxthale finally said, voice booming over the din. These are extraordinary claims requiring extraordinary evidence. Agreed, Jack said reasonably. I'd be happy to arrange a demonstration. What kind of demonstration? Asked Councillor Mirok, mandibles clicking nervously. Before Jack could answer, a chime sounded from Vera. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. Priority Alpha, the AI announced. Display it, Jack ordered. Vera projected a new hologram showing a stern-faced woman in a uniform similar to Jack's but with considerably more decorations. Admiral Chen, Jack said, saluting. I was just introducing the Council to our right field capabilities. And their reaction? The Admiral asked, her eyes scanning what she could see of the chamber. Mixed, Jack replied with a small smile. As expected. Admiral Chen nodded. Commander, the Security Council has been monitoring your session. In light of the Council's proposal to essentially colonize Earth, they've authorized me to inform you that Operation Walkabout is now on standby. Jack's eyebrows shot up. Walkabout? Already? That's ahead of schedule. Dr. Wright's team has been working around the clock, the Admiral said. The global network is fully operational and synchronized. We can initiate at your signal. Druxthale rose to his full, impressive height. What is this Operation Walkabout? Jack turned back to face the Council. Mr. President, it appears we've reached a decision point. Earth respectfully declines your offer of protected status. We're not interested in being anyone's pet project or nature preserve. This is not a request, Commander, Elder Grath hissed. The Council's decisions are binding for the good of all civilized space. Binding how? Jack asked. Will you use force against us? Because I should warn you that would be a mistake. First Thinker's Rel leaned forward. Your species possesses exactly one faster-than-light vessel, primitive weapon systems, and no allies. How exactly do you propose to resist the combined will of the Council? By leaving, Jack said simply. Leaving? Councillor Plix blinked his enormous eyes in confusion. Leaving what? Your neighborhood. Jack turned back to Admiral Chen's hologram. Admiral, please explain Operation Walkabout to our new friends. The Admiral's stern face was illuminated by a tight smile. Operation Walkabout is the controlled relocation of Earth using our planetary propulsion system. In simple terms, we're moving our entire planet to a different region of space, one outside Council jurisdiction. A shocked silence fell over the chamber. Preposterous, Druxthale finally said. Even with this right field technology, the energy required to move an entire planet is well within our capabilities, Admiral Chen interrupted. As Commander Hawkins explained, the efficiency of the system increases with mass. Moving Earth requires less proportional energy than launching one of our older chemical rockets. And where exactly do you intend to go? Harmonizer Luma asked, light patterns oscillating rapidly. We've identified several promising star systems beyond what your star charts mark as Council space, the Admiral replied. Our probes indicate suitable conditions and no signs of intelligent life that might object to new neighbors. This is madness, Counselor Mirok clicked. You would sever all connection with galactic civilization rather than accept our guidance? From what we've seen today, Jack said, your version of guidance looks a lot like subjugation. Earth has spent too long fighting for its independence to surrender it now. Druxthale's golden eyes narrowed to slits. Perhaps I haven't made the consequences clear, Commander. If Earth defies the Council, we have means to ensure compliance. Our containment technology could imprison your world in a subspace bubble from which even your right field couldn't free you. Jack exchanged a glance with Admiral Chen, whose smile had turned decidedly cold. Mr. President, she said, any aggressive action against Earth would be unwise. We've taken precautions. What precautions? Druxthale demanded. Over the past year, we've launched thousands of automated probes equipped with right field generators, Jack explained. They're currently positioned throughout Council space, undetected thanks to their containment technology. Should any action be taken against Earth, they're programmed to activate simultaneously. Activate and do what? Elder Grath asked, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Create localized distortions in space-time. Admiral Chen said matter-of-factly. Nothing dangerous unless you happen to rely on consistent physical laws for your technology to function. Which I'm guessing you do. The Council chamber erupted into chaos again. Jack watched as the realization spread Earth wasn't just refusing their terms, it was threatening mutual destruction if forced. This isn't diplomacy, Druxthale roared when he could finally be heard again. This is blackmail. No, Jack corrected. This is humanity refusing to be bullied, patronized, or controlled. We came here hoping for respectful relations between equals. Instead, we found an organization that sees us as primitive children to be managed. So we're choosing another path. He turned to Admiral Chen's hologram. Admiral, please inform the Security Council that I recommend proceeding with Operation Walkabout. Earth is leaving the neighborhood. Understood, Commander, the Admiral replied. Initiating countdown. Right field planetary drive will activate in 30 minutes. The countdown to activation had an immediate effect on the Council. What had been organized chaos became frantic activity. Advisors rushed to whisper in Council members' ears, assistants hurried with data tablets, and urgent communications were being sent across the galaxy. You cannot do this. Druxthale thundered, all 6 hands clenched into fists. Moving a planet from its orbit violates dozens of galactic conservation laws. Laws we never agreed to, Jack pointed out calmly. Laws we didn't even know existed until today. Vera projected a new hologram, a real-time image of Earth from a distance. The blue-green planet looked peaceful, serene even, with no visible indication of the unprecedented technological feat about to occur. 20 minutes to right field activation, Admiral Chen announced. Counselor Plix hopped frantically from one webbed foot to another. The ecological damage alone, think of your oceans, your atmosphere. This is insanity. Actually, Jack said, Dr. Wright's team has solved those problems. The field will extend well beyond Earth's atmosphere, encompassing not just our planet but a significant portion of our existing biosphere. The moon comes with us, as does our immediate space environment. First Thinker Zrel's enormous cranium was now flushed deep blue with agitation. The gravitational effects on surrounding space will be catastrophic. No, they won't, Jack replied. That's the beauty of the right field. It doesn't fight against existing physics, it creates a localized bubble of alternative physics. Outside the bubble, everything remains normal. Inside, we control the rules. 15 minutes to activation, announced Admiral Chen. Stop this madness, Druxthale demanded. We can negotiate. Aye. Now you want to negotiate? Jack raised an eyebrow. After declaring us a protected species? After threatening containment? I think it's a little late for that. In the holographic projection, a faint blue shimmer began to appear around Earth, barely perceptible at first, then gradually more distinct. Right field generators coming online, Admiral Chen reported. System synchronization at 82%, and rising. The council chamber had fallen into a stunned hush, all eyes fixed on the hologram of Earth, as the blue field surrounding it strengthened. 10 minutes to full activation. Wait. Harmonizer Luma's light patterns flashed urgently. Earth contains unique biological and cultural resources. The Council designates it a galactic heritage site. So now we're a museum exhibit instead of a zoo? Jack shook his head. Still not interested. 5 minutes to activation. Elder Grath rose suddenly, scaled face contorted with rage. Deploy the containment fleet. Lock down that system before they can. I wouldn't, Jack interrupted. Those probes I mentioned? They're keyed to any unusual energy signatures approaching Earth. Like, say, a containment fleet powering up. The hologram of Earth was now surrounded by a pulsing blue sphere that seemed to bend the starlight around it. Right field at full power? Admiral Chen announced, commencing spatial displacement in 3, 2, 1. The blue sphere intensified, and then impossibly, majestically Earth began to move. Not in its familiar orbit around the sun, but laterally, as if the entire planet were a ship setting sail across the cosmic ocean. The council members watched in horrified fascination, as the homeworld of humanity, a primitive species they had been prepared to patronize just hours earlier, but defied everything they thought they knew about physics and planetary science. Spatial displacement successful. Admiral Chen reported, satisfaction evident in her voice. Earth is now traveling at 0.01 light speed and accelerating. At this rate, we'll be beyond council space within a week. Impossible, whispered Councillor Mirok, mandibles hanging slack. But the evidence was right before their eyes. Earth, an entire planet, was walking away from the galactic community that had dismissed it. Commander First Thinker Zrel said, enormous cranium pulsing with distress, you must reconsider. The knowledge your species possesses, it could benefit all civilized worlds. I thought we were too primitive to contribute anything worthwhile, Jack replied. We may have been hasty in our assessment, Zrel admitted. Jack smiled thinly. You think? Stop. President Druxthel's voice boomed through the chamber. Commander Hawkins, the Council formally requests that Earth halt its departure so that we may discuss more appropriate terms for your entry into the galactic community. Jack looked at Admiral Chen's hologram. Admiral? Madderal? She nodded. Right field holding at current position. We've established stable spatial coordinates outside our original solar system, but still within communication range. Jack turned back to Druxthel. We're listening. The Council President's earlier arrogance had vanished entirely. He looked almost humbled. The Council acknowledges that our initial assessment of humanity was incomplete. Your technological achievements, particularly this right field, represent an advancement that could be of immense benefit to all species. And? Jack prompted. And Druxthel continued reluctantly, we propose that Earth be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges thereto. A murmur ran through the chamber. Full membership for a species at humanity's development stage was unprecedented. That's a start, Jack said. But not enough. Not enough. Elder Grath hissed incredulously. We offer you a seat among the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. And you demand more? Yes, Jack said simply. Because we've seen how this council operates. You divide species into categories advanced or primitive, worthy or unworthy. That's not a community we're interested in joining unless we can help change it. What exactly are you proposing, Commander? Harmonizer Luma asked, light patterns swirling curiously. Jack straightened his shoulders. First, Earth wants a binding commitment that no species will be designated protected without their consent. Guidance and assistance? Fine. Paternalistic control? Unacceptable. Counselor Plix blinked rapidly. But some species truly aren't ready. Then help them get ready, Jack interrupted. but don't decide their fate for them. What else? Druxdale asked, resignation in his voice. Second, we want a complete restructuring of how technology is classified and shared. No more hoarding advancements that could help developing worlds overcome their challenges. First thinker's Rel's cranium pulsed. But unrestricted technology transfer could be dangerous. I didn't say unrestricted, Jack clarified. I said restructured. Knowledge should be a ladder to help others climb, not a wall to keep them out. And finally, Druxdale prompted, clearly expecting worse. Jack's expression softened slightly. Finally, we want to contribute. Humanity has spent its history solving problems, adapting to challenges, finding ways to survive against the odds. We've made terrible mistakes, but we've learned from them. Maybe our perspective could help this council remember what it's like to face the unknown without millions of years of accumulated knowledge to fall back on. A long silence fell over the chamber. Finally, Druxdale spoke. These terms are not unreasonable, he admitted. The council will need to deliberate, but I believe we can reach an agreement along these lines. Jack nodded. Good. In the meantime, Earth will remain where it is independent, but willing to talk. And the probes? Elder Grath asked warily. Consider them an insurance policy, Jack replied. One we hope never to use. Admiral Chen's hologram flickered. Commander, Earth Security Council is requesting an update. Tell them we're negotiating from a position of strength, Jack said with a smile. And that humanity has finally found its place in the universe not as a client or a curiosity, but as an equal. 1 year later, Jack stood at the observation deck of the newly constructed Earth Embassy on the Council Spire. Beside him, Dr. Eleanor Wright watched ships from dozens of worlds come and go through the massive docking bays. Not bad for a species that was going to be put in a zoo, she remarked. Jack chuckled. We've come a long way. Indeed they had. In the years since Earth had demonstrated its right field technology, the Galactic Council had undergone the most significant reforms in its million-year history. The classification system for developing worlds had been completely overhauled, with 17 previously protected species now enjoying self-determination. A new technology exchange initiative was facilitating the responsible sharing of advancements that had been restricted for millennia. And humanity? Far from being the galactic community's problem child, Earth had become something of a sensation. The species that had figured out how to move their planet had a fresh perspective that the ancient civilizations of the Council found surprisingly valuable. Ambassador Hawkins, called a familiar melodious voice, Guide Teth Lori approached, bowing deeply. The delegates from the Helios Confederation have arrived. They're most eager to discuss humanity's atmospheric restoration techniques. Jack nodded. I'll be right there. As Teth Lori departed, Vera floated up beside Jack. Incoming message from President Druxdale, the AI announced. Marked urgent. Jack sighed. When aren't his messages marked urgent? Put him through. The holographic form of Druxdale appeared, looking considerably less imposing than he had a year ago. Ambassador Hawkins, he said, golden eyes troubled. The Council has received disturbing reports from the Andromeda observation posts. It seems the Void Collective is expanding again. The Void Collective? Jack frowned. The ones consuming entire star systems for energy? The same. Druxdale's expression was grim. Our traditional containment strategies have failed. The Council requests Earth's assistance in finding a more creative solution. Jack and Dr. Wright exchanged glances. You know, Jack said thoughtfully, we never did explore the upper limits of the right field technology. Moving a planet was just the beginning. Dr. Wright nodded, eyes gleaming with the excitement of a new impossible problem to solve. I've been thinking about applications beyond simple spatial displacement. Theoretically, we could create a bubble large enough to encompass an entire region of space. A bubble with its own physical laws, Jack mused, laws that might be very inhospitable to the Void Collective. Druxdale was watching them with a mixture of hope and amazement. You're already formulating solutions? Jack smiled. That's what humans do, Mr. President. We solve problems, especially the ones everyone else thinks are impossible. As he turned to head toward the conference room, Jack couldn't help but feel a certain satisfaction. A year ago, the council had mocked humanity as primitive upstarts barely worth noticing. Now they came to Earth when they needed the impossible done. Humanity, it turned out, had been ready for the stars all along. They just needed the right motivation to show the galaxy what they could really do. And all it took was one small step, an entire planet walking away.